From JBS Studios in Greater New York, this is the JBS News Update with Teisha Bader.
I'm Teisha Bader with the JBS News Update for Wednesday, June the 7th, 2017. The United States Ambassador to the United Nations, Nikki Haley, arrived in Israel today and met with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who thanked her for being an ally for Israel at the UN.
Thank you for all your help in standing up for Israel, standing up for the truth, which is standing up for America. Actually, I think it's standing up for the UN.
Yeah.
As it was originally conceived.
You know, that's all I've done is tell the truth.
Right.
And it's kind of overwhelming at the reaction.
Right.
Because it was just talking about what I was saying
Well,
and what
which is people appreciate the truth. We have an ancient Hebrew saying that when somebody tells the truth, you can feel it.
Yes.
So people feel it. They not only understand it, they feel it.
Right, right.
And we feel it.
Well, and that's
Thank
been obvious. Thank you for the support.
Thank you.
As we reported to you, Haley addressed the UN Human Rights Council in Geneva yesterday, where she criticized the chronic anti-Israel bias at the international body. In her remarks in Israel today, Haley said that the Human Rights Council had been bullying Israel and that she had no patience for bullies. The U.S. ambassador also met today with Israeli President Reuven Rivlin, who told Haley, "With your support, we see the beginning of a new era," saying that Israel is no longer alone at the UN. Israel is no longer the UN's punching bag. Later today, Haley met with Palestinian officials in Bethlehem. Tomorrow, she is scheduled to tour the Gaza border areas as well as Israel's northern borders with Syria and Lebanon via helicopter and receive security briefings from Israeli security officials and meet with UN officials stationed in the area. On Friday, Haley is set to visit the Yad Vashem Holocaust Museum and tour Tel Aviv before returning to the U.S. And yesterday, Prime Minister Netanyahu welcomed the Prime Minister of Ethiopia to Israel. Hailemariam Desalegn met with Netanyahu in Jerusalem, where the leaders spoke of cooperation in several fields. The Prime Minister spoke of his recent visit to Ethiopia and of the great friendship between the two countries. And staying with Ethiopia, some 70 immigrants from the country arrived in Israel yesterday as part of a joint operation between the Jewish Agency and the International Christian Embassy in Jerusalem. The Aliyah process from Ethiopia had been stalled for a number of years, and some family members in Israel who welcomed the new Olim had not seen their family in decades. In northern Israel today, bereaved families marked the 11th anniversary of the Second Lebanon War. Hundreds gathered in Israel's Upper Galilee at a memorial to the 121 IDF soldiers killed in that war. American retailer Sears says it will remove a line of clothing from its website which features the slogan "Free Palestine" and "End Israeli Occupation." The clothing is offered for sale through the Sears marketplace on their website through third-party sellers. The Jerusalem Post first reported on this story and said today that after receiving several complaints, a spokesman for Sears said the apparel was being pulled, adding that Sears felt they were being singled out, noting that the items are available for purchase from other companies as well. They also mentioned that Sears has a broad base of customers around the world and has 200 employees in Israel. B'nai B'rith International President Gary Saltzman and CEO Daniel Mariachin had also written a letter to Sears saying they were shocked at the sale of the clothing, writing this ploy is a gross exploitation of the retailer with a presence in thousands of communities across the country to promote a political agenda, saying it is also insidious in its trivialization of the reality on the ground. Local authorities in Manchester, England, are investigating 2 incidents of arson as anti-Semitic hate crimes. The UK's Jewish News reports that 2 kosher restaurants in the city were targeted over the last few days, causing some damage but no injuries. The incidents come in the wake of the deadly terror attacks in Manchester and most recently in London. The man said to be responsible for some 8 threats made earlier this year against Jewish American institutions will reportedly plead guilty when he appears in court next week. 32-year-old Juan Thompson, who was extradited from St. Louis to New York, denied the charges when he first appeared in New York City federal court in April. But Reuters reports that prosecutors said Thompson will enter a guilty plea when he appears in court again on June the 12th. Thompson reportedly made the threats against a number of JCCs as well as against the offices of the ADL in New York in the name of a former girlfriend whom he was trying to get into trouble. They were said to be copycat crimes during the wave of nearly 150 bomb threats against JCCs and other Jewish institutions that later were found to be made by an Israeli teenager who holds U.S. citizenship. The American Jewish Committee concluded its global forum in Washington yesterday, honoring 3 religious leaders for their demonstration of brotherhood. The Unity Award was presented to Rabbi Dov Hayun, Amir Muhammad Sharif Ode, and Father Yusuf Yaqub. Ode and Yaqub lead the Maronite Christian and Muslim communities, respectively, in Haifa, who came out to help Hayun's Jewish congregation after it was badly damaged in the massive forest fires that swept through the city last year. And taking a look now at our programming for tonight on JBS for Wednesday, June the 7th at 7 o'clock, a new Zionism is discussed at the recent AIPAC conference. At 8, New York Times columnist Bret Stephens and Israeli author Yossi Klein Halevi discussed their personal connections to Israel and how the American Jewish community's views on Israel are evolving. That's from the Alex Adichman Family JCC in Whippany, New Jersey. Then at 9, Mark Golub sits down with Thane Rosenbaum, Eric Yaffe, Betty Ehrenberg, and Abe Foxman to talk about the impact of the Six-Day War on Jewish life and its ongoing repercussions. And at 10:30, it's New Jewish Cinema with French director Diane Kuris, who describes living on a kibbutz during the Six-Day War, and her film For a Woman with Judy Gelman-Myers. And coming up right after this newscast tonight at 6:30, it's Thinking Out Loud with Micah Halpern. And that's the JBS News Update for Wednesday, June the 7th, 2017. I'm Teisha Bader.